the script. Oh, you know what we don't have? Does anybody anybody have the ability to, any of my fellow commissioners have the ability to record the meeting locally? Bob had done that for us last time, but clearly he's not in a position to do that for us today.
I'll give it a shot, Mary, if you'd like.
That would be nice. Thank you.
I also could provide you a copy of the recording, probably tomorrow morning, if you were willing to wait for it.
Okay, yeah, we can wait for it. We have been doing that as a backup because I think the collective experience of the commissioners is that on occasion, rare occasion, the primary recording sometimes gets corrupted.
Feel free to, anytime that does happen, to let me know. I can pull up the ones that we have saved. We don't always record them, so, you know, through PAC, but when we do, we have those copies. Anytime you'd like, and all the past ones as well.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, do you want to allow recording also? Okay, I'm going to convene this meeting of Lunenburg Conservation Commission. And it says I'm being recorded. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being audio video recorded. The agenda lists all of the topics which may be discussed in the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. Please address all comments to the chair. This meeting of the Conservation Commission will be held by Zoom at the link provided in this notice. For those of you that may be dialing in through the televised presentation, the Zoom ID is 909-174-0347. And of course, that is available online at the town calendar at the Lunenburg Conservation Commission posted agenda. I'm calling this meeting to order at 7:04 for the benefit of those that will be taking meeting minutes for us. Going to start out with a roll call. Bob Pease. I see Bob, but I don't hear Bob. Richard Tremblay.
Here.
Richard Bursch is absent today. Jeff Viviano. Don't see Jeff on the call. Mike LaRouche.
Here.
Thank you. And Chris St. Germain, I also do not see today. And Bob, are you able to, it looks like Bob's frozen now. There's Chris trying to get in. So Chris St. Germain, we were just doing roll call. Are you present? Bob, can you unmute and announce your presence? Seem to be having some technical difficulties. Chris, are you there?
Yes. Good morning. Good
Okay.
evening.
Very good. So I do see Bob, but I can't hear Bob. So we will proceed. Are there any announcements by commissioners? I'm seeing no hands. Announcements by members of the public and or public comment. was looking for Peter Crowley for public comment. Peter, did you want to review your OWL prowl for us during this section?
I would love to, thank you. Peter Cowley, 72 Peninsula in Lunenburg. I have an application in to conduct an owl prowl. That is a guided walk looking for owls on the Lane property on September 29th. And it's for up to 25 people. And I have the application in. I don't know if it needs to be shown or not.
I did see that. It has been posted to the folder for the benefit of my fellow commissioners. So I would encourage them to read it and or ask questions. I think OWL prowl is fairly straightforward. Peter, as I understand it, you're not charging admission or charging a fee for this OWL prowl?
That is correct. Yes, she's due to the insurance requirements by the town, she agreed to not charge anything. She'll accept donations, but not charging anything. And
Excellent.
It's for attendance. I'm sending out an announcement for it for Hickory Hills residents.
Okay, and is it open to, is it attendance broader than Hickory Hills residents or just Hickory Hills residents?
Well, the announcement is going to Hickory Hills residents, but certainly people who are listening here would be welcome to join in.
Okay, very good. I'll open the floor to my fellow commissioners to see if they have any questions.
None here.
I just had one question.
Yes,
this-
Mike.
Just curious, I know in the past there have been use of artificial owl calling in the class. Is that something that's going to happen on this owl prowl?
Well, the leader will do the calls, and she encourages people to try to do it as well.
So there's no electronic call. People are just going to,
No,
Does she-
no electronics. That's correct.
that's all I needed to know. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
And the reason I ask is that sometimes will either startle an owl or will disrupt their natural habitat. But in September, not exactly sure if there's going to be mating issues or nesting issues at that time of year. So that's why I asked the question, Peter. But
Our leader on this has been doing this for many, many years, and I know her, and knowing her, I am very sure she wouldn't do anything that would disrupt anything they're doing naturally.
thank you, Peter. I appreciate it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mike. Any further questions from the commission?
None, and Mayor, I just wanted to say I was on my phone in my car and I'm now on my computer in my home, so I should be all set.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, any questions about the OWL prowl from members of the public? And I do see Butch and Joanne McGurn, but I don't know that their question was related to this. Not seeing any other hands.
Madam Chair, it was not related to this.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. All right, very good. I think if there are no further questions, I'm looking for a motion to approve the OWL prowl.
I move to approve the owl prowl.
I second.
All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Richard Tremblay,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Bob Pease,
Aye.
and Mike LaRouche.
Aye.
And I for myself. That is unanimous approval for the OWL prowl. Peter, thank you for coordinating that. Sounds lovely.
We had real good feedback from the one we did last year, so we'll look forward to it. Thank you all.
Thank you. And I will now recognize Butch and Joe McGurn for public comment. Joanne, I apologize.
Yeah, Madam Chair, hi.
Yes.
I notice it's not public comment, but it's a question directed to the commission. I have an agenda, I'm on the agenda tonight, but it has something that says deterred due to office staff shortage. Does that mean I am not being seen tonight, or does that mean something different?
That is an excellent question. What is your address again?
238 Fire Road 16. It would be on it's on the end of the agenda, and it's a certificate of compliance.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, you're not being seen tonight.
Okay.
The challenge that we have is in order to do you have a certificate of compliance that's required or an administrative determination?
Certificate of compliance. This would be to close out my order of conditions.
Yeah, in order to do that, we need to have somebody from the office pull those order of conditions list and go out and walk your property. And right now we're missing the full-time head, and we're currently working against 300 hours of resource deficit in the office.
Mhm.
So we weren't able to get to yours this week.
Okay.
I would recommend call if you have an urgency that requires that you get this closed out right away, like need to sell the property or something really that is driving urgency. I would recommend that you call the office and talk to them about moving up the priority. But otherwise, they'll be working through these, as they can.
Okay, understood. But I do want to mention that this has been reviewed by Nadia last year, and she
Mhm.
did, in fact, recommend to this commission that to accept it, waiting on the paperwork. And lastly, I've already had the state come through, and I'm just waiting for final signature on the superseding order of closing out the superseding order of conditions with that they've already approved. So I've had the state look at it. I've had Nadia look at it last year, and then I invited on June 8th, Rich Birch. If you all remember, I invited him out to come out, and he said he'd be in touch, and that was nearly 2.5 months ago.
Okay, I do recall that.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. We'll see you on the next meeting.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, are there any other, I see no other hands, no other public comments. We'll move along with the agenda. We did have the May 17th meeting minutes circulated to me and Bob. That was while Bob was the chair, and I saw that Bob, you had gotten back to Ashley, but I don't think these have been distributed to our fellow commissioners. Bob may
Are
not
they in the
still be
drive
there.
tonight?
Let me go look. Yeah, they are in the drive. I don't know if have our commissioners had an opportunity to review those, and can we take a vote on approving them or no?
I have not seen them.
And Chris, you wouldn't be eligible to vote anyway. That was before your commissioning time. So you're off the hook in this one case. Mike or Rich?
I reviewed them.
Yes. And Mike?
Yes, I have two.
Okay. I would
I move we approve the minutes of the 17th.
thank
Second.
you. Okay, we'll
Second,
take a
Richard.
roll call vote. Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Bob Pease,
And I would just mention, you actually don't have to have attended the meeting to vote on the minutes.
oh, you don't?
Nope,
That's odd.
it
Thank
is
you.
odd, but it is the way it is.
Thank you. Richard Tremblay,
Aye.
aye. Yeah, I for myself, and Chris, since I've already asked you if you've reviewed them, even though you can vote as it appears, I think you would need to abstain.
Yes, I'm going to. Thank you.
All right, that's a unanimous approval on the May 17th. So now we're only 5 meetings and backlog for meeting minutes, but that's progress. Oh, and before we get into the hearings, Rich, if I may ask you to record just a summary of the decisions that we make tonight. And so we can provide that to Ashley and Adam and hopefully get any letters routed for signature that are an outcome of this meeting. I would appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Thank you. So we'll move on to appointment hearings. Do we have Sue and Gary Ropiak on the call? Do not see them and I do not hear them. This was for a discussion regarding tree removal within the buffer zones. Okay, I don't see them, so we will table that. Bob, if I could ask, will you keep an eye out for them and
I will.
yeah, let me know if they show up and we'll try to get them heard. Okay, we'll move on to new public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Vasilios Halkiadakis for installation of a stone trench and a drainage pipe at 429 to 433 Electric Ave. And do we have Mr. Halkian? I can't pronounce it very well, and I apologize. Halkiadakis here.
Madam Chair, Greg Roy here. I am here representing the applicant, Mr.
Thank you, Greg.
Halkidakis is the way I.
Halkidakis. You did that.
Halkidakis.
You did it elegantly. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm hailing from Toronto, Ontario on vacation in an Airbnb that I just got to. So I hope that the connection stays.
Sounds clear.
Okay, good. Is there someone that could share the screen? I could probably do it, but I'm on my tiny laptop screen here.
Yeah, I can probably do it. Let me go find the folder.
I can, let me give it a whirl here.
Okay.
I'll try it, Mary. 1 second. I'm used to having like 4 monitors in the office, so and I think I need to
I
be.
actually found the folder.
Okay, well, if that's easy, then I'll let you do it.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Share screen. Here we go.
Great, thank you very much. So I'll get right into it here. Again, my name is Greg Roy with Dillson Roy Civil Design Group, and I am representing the applicant this evening, Electric Corner LLC. This is the building right on the corner of Electric Ave and Whalum Road, right across from the new Arrive, well, it's not new anymore, right across from the Arrive Lunenburg townhomes along Whalum Road. And we were approached by the applicant a few months ago as they were having some water issues in the unit closest to Whalum Road. And this unit is the package store. If a lot of you, I think it's Lunenburg Liquors is the tenant in that space. And there's one particular spot on the right adjacent to Whalum Road. I'm going to call it on the furthest. Yeah, thank you very much, Mary. Right in there, right where I have that kind of hatched area. Thank you. Where they're getting groundwater seepage into the facility that's affecting that space right adjacent to that stone trench that we're showing there. And what happens is currently today, it fills up and it comes to the surface of the ground actually, and it flows down towards Electric Avenue in front of the building, through the parking lot, all the way down Electric Ave to a catch basin that we have shown but not labeled. There's a sort of a rectangle right adjacent to Electric Ave, about 100 or so feet north from the parking lot, right along, kind of just maybe an inch up from where it says Electric Avenue, from the E in electric, that rectangle right there. Yep. And it flows right into that rectangle, right in that catch basin, and then ultimately gets into the wetland system that is in the back of that property that we have flagged, which actually is in the back of our client's property, on our client's property. But it flows to that same wetland system now in sort of a roundabout way. So the issue is there's no positive drainage for that groundwater at present. So we were approached to come up with a solution that would mitigate that groundwater condition. So what we proposed, there's actually about 5 vertical feet of height difference, 5 to 6 vertical feet of height difference from the wetland system that exists in the back of the property to the slab that we're trying to protect. So another way of saying that is the wetland system is about 5 to 6 feet lower than the slab, which provided an opportunity for us to install a more or less a foundation drain that would intercept that groundwater in that location and discharge it towards the wetland area. And I apologize, I wish I could point, but it's on the northerly side, right in that area. Thank you very much, Mary. So we are proposing to put a stone trench in the problem area adjacent to Whalum Road, with a perforated pipe in the bottom of that stone trench, and then extend from there a 6-inch PVC pipe all the way down to where it would daylight, just upgrade into the wetland system. We used an RDA here because we feel like we can do this work very quickly. We think we only needed 2 to 3 days maximum to get the work. To get that pipe installed, particularly in the location outside of the pavement area. We think that work will happen very fast and it can be restored very fast. We're still proposing all the same erosion control features that we would otherwise propose on a project like this. And we're proposing to construct the outlet with some stone riprap, just to make sure we don't have any scour problems down by the wetland system. And then we are proposing to overseed that area with a conservation mix to encourage the growth. A mix that's really meant for that type of area, buffer zone, transition type zones that will encourage those native species and also to establish quickly so that we can get some good growth in that area. The rest of the work, as you go south, is all within pavement, existing pavement. So we would be saw cutting the pavement from that point on, correct? Working within the limit of currently disturbed area and installing that pipe and then doing a pavement patch. We would, of course, not remove any of the erosion control until we had both the pavement patch and also the vegetation in the downgrading areas established. And I think that's all. I will be happy to take any questions.
So I have a question, Greg. So within the 30-foot wetland zone, what is there now? I mean, is there already a pipe or is it just
There isn't.
vegetation?
This would be a new pipe. So it's there's no trees that would need to be removed, Mary. There's actually quite a bit of invasives down there. I think my recollection is quite a bit of knotweed and a sort of a brush type ground cover. I'm not sure if any of the commissioners got a chance to go out to the site this past weekend or not, but
I think Richard Tremblay did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are not intending to take any trees. Even if there was a tree in there, we would, it's a small diameter pipe, we would look to, to rework the location and make sure we save trees.
Thank you, Greg. I don't have any further questions. Rich, I wondered if you wanted to share your photos with us. Are you in a position to do that?
Yes, I can do that. Mike and I were there on Saturday morning and we looked at this. So yeah, let me share my screen for a second. Says that my screen sharing is disabled.
Oh, that's probably my fault. I apologize. Try it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is the area in question where we're looking to put the stone trench. So sort of between
Okay.
the asphalt and the building.
Okay.
And then the pipe would be sort of standing on the pipe, and the pipe would kind of exit out underneath the photographer's feet. Okay, so now you're looking down the pipe. We'd be installing that pipe. And then straight out towards those dumpsters, although I think we might be going on the
Right of the dumpsters.
I think to the right of the dumpsters, correct? Yes.
And there's a gas line that's clearly marked. It's
Yes.
runs up and down the side of this building.
There's definitely utility issues there. We're gonna have to do some handwork as we cross there, because there's also the sewer line comes in that way too. Across the back of that parking lot. But all that work would be done in the pavement area before we even, pretty much before we got to the buffer zone, I think.
Okay.
So there's a storage trailer that is to the right of this picture, and we're looking to go right to the left of the storage dumpster.
Okay.
I mean, excuse me, to the storage container. So we're actually going to the, excuse
Further
me,
to the
we're
right.
looking to go to the left of the storage container to the right of the dumpsters. So kind of to the right of that red car.
Oh, over here.
Yeah, I think we're aiming that way.
Yeah.
Actually, even further over.
Yeah. There are 3 dumpsters, I think, in this photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
okay.
we're gonna go like way to the right, kind of not even
Okay.
where you, yeah, outside the limits of this picture.
Okay.
It's a sporty little red car.
I'll make sure I move it, Bob.
They start digging. Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to see. There's definitely a lot of vegetation there, but where we're looking to put the pipe, we believe it to be, low growth brush type vegetation, not canopy trees.
Okay. And are there any further questions by commissioners? Seeing any raised hands? Rich, I think you can, unshare. Any questions by members of the public? And again, I see no raised hands. I think I'm looking for a motion for a negative, a determination of negative. What is it? Negative applicability.
I make a motion that we issue a negative determination for this RDA.
I second.
Okay, we'll go for a roll call vote. Richard Tremblay,
Aye.
Michael LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Bob Pease,
Aye.
and I for myself. So that is that's an approval for this RDA with a finding of negative determination.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg.
I think I have the next one, so I'll stay on.
Okay. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Lunenburg Skate Park, Inc. for the proposed construction of a skate park and drainage basin at 100 Chestnut Street. I do note we have the DEP number. I believe last time we convened, we did not have a quorum that had been present for the first hearing of this. I believe we do now meet that quorum threshold for this hearing.
Yeah, I believe so. Unless
Yeah, I don't see any of my fellow commissioners raising a hand to correct me on that. So I think we're good. So Greg, I'll let you have the floor again.
Okay, let me try to share my screen this time because I think it would be helpful for me to point a little bit on this. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. How's that?
That looks great.
Okay. Technology. Okay, so we I think had I'll kind of go into the history a little bit here, but I'll make it brief because I think we were in the closing drill here. The last time we came before you, I think was maybe 6 weeks ago, and we had a discussion with Matt Morrow regarding the limit of the wetland area that the project is working. The project's working inside a buffer zone, and the wetland system associated with that buffer zone is actually an isolated area that's less than 5,000 square feet in size. So Matt Morrow was the person that, or the wetlands
Administrator.
yeah, well, he was the wetlands professional that actually flagged this on behalf of the town, not just in this location, but in the entirety of Marshall Park. He flagged all the wetlands that were located for the purposes of the Parks Commission's master planning effort. So this wetland system, of course, was included. And Matt believed that this was an isolated area that was not jurisdictional under the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, and only jurisdictional under the local bylaw. So our notice of intent is really just a local bylaw filing, albeit we did file it with DEP as well. But the last time we were here, we presented that fact. I think it was Mr. Bursch asked that we go back and clarify the size of that area, which we did do. We've actually put it on the plan. We actually also issued you a letter. And the size of that wetland area is 3,014 square feet in area. So it's definitely well below the 5,000 square foot threshold. The other things that we did were to, this project started with your commission about 4 or 5 months ago, back in March. And at the time we had a slightly different orientation to the skate park, which is the rectangular looking thing highlighted in gray on your plan. We had to relocate that to align with the Parks Commission's master plan that they're working on with their consultants. You actually saw this plan at the last time we met, I think 6 weeks ago. The one thing that we did do between 6 weeks ago and now is to tighten up the limit of the clearing. So we had shown a rather generous limit of clearing down in this location here. So we've actually tightened that up, and we were able to save 8 of these maple trees.
Excellent.
Well, they're not maple trees, I guess, necessarily. They're probably mostly oak, but I think there's some maples in there, but hardwoods nonetheless. The other thing that we did was to show the locations. We promised the commission that we do some planting to mitigate the loss of a few of these trees that are within the 30 and the 50-foot buffer zone. Again, we have no alteration proposed within the 30-foot buffer zone, the 30-foot wetland offset. We're just working outside of the 30. So there's no, we are honoring the 30-foot no touch, but we do have a few trees that we're removing between 30 and 50. Despite the fact that your bylaw really only requires replacement of trees within the 30-foot no touch zone, we're still proposing to plant 5 new trees along the edge of this detention basin, just to try to mitigate the loss of a few of those trees. And it'll act to reestablish the canopy. So it was really those 3 things, was just to document the square footage of the wetland area. Most of the work that we had done prior related to the drainage and things, and that had already been resolved. But we're really just coming back before you, I think, this evening to document the size of the wetland, the fact that we tightened up the limit of clearing, and the addition of the 5 proposed planting locations. I think that's all. So I'm happy to take any questions, or if anybody remembers it differently, I'm happy to.
Thank you, Greg. I know that's all the questions that I had remembered, but yeah, I don't have any further questions. I'll open the floor to other commissioners. I see, Bob, you have a question. Please proceed.
Greg, the DEP had some extensive comments about stormwater management and BMPs. And they made it seem like they thought that this was a jurisdictional wetland. And I was wondering if you could address the DEP's rather extensive comments.
Yeah, I think the DEP's comments related to doing soil testing in the basin, which you can kind of see. We had these sort of rectangular oval looking things are places where we did soil testing in response to DEP's comments. We did make some changes to the stormwater calculations in response to DEP's comments relating to exfiltration and things like that. At the end of the day, though, they really, because it's not jurisdictional in this portion of the park, it's really one of those gray areas, Bob, relative to stormwater management. We did go through, like I said, and address those comments. But at the end of the day, I think if we had sort of were paying attention, we would have only filed this with your board. So, DEP got a chance to take a look at this and review it, but it's really not it really is not a DEP issue in this part of the park. If that makes any sense.
If you say you've addressed all the DEP comments, that satisfies me.
Yeah, we did it anyway, because of course your bylaw is still your bylaw, and
Yep.
it still has drainage and stormwater management are still an interest of your bylaw. So
Yep.
we sort of, we did the belt and suspenders, but I just wanted to kind of be clear where we're at on this part of the park.
And we have the chairman of the Stormwater Committee on our commission, so you better pay attention.
Excellent.
Thank you, Greg.
Are there other questions by commissioners? And are there any questions by members of the public? I am not seeing any raised hands. So I think I'm looking for a motion to approve this NOI. The standard order of conditions.
I second that motion.
I think you're making the motion.
Oh, I make the motion to approve the skate park as proposed.
Richard will second the motion.
Okay, thank you. So we will go to a roll call vote. Bob Pease,
All right,
Richard Tremblay,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
I don't think I can vote.
Oh, you're right. You can't. Well done. An eye for myself. That
Okay,
is to
thank you.
approve as proposed. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much.
Along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Robert J. Correa for the construction of a garage at 932 Flat Hill Road. Do we have Mr. Correa or his representative on the call with us tonight?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm James Tatro from Azimuth Land Design here representing Mr. Correa, and he is here as well somewhere. I saw his name on one of the squares. Oh, there he is. Okay. So what you have before you is actually, can I share my screen?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Excellent. Let's. And then hold on a sec. Okay, can you see my screen now?
I can, yes.
Okay. This is actually the third version of the plan. We initially filed this with the, you've got the existing house that Ms. Correa and his family live in. And in blue, you have the proposed garage structure. We initially had this, I've turned this plan so north is actually to the left on this. We initially had this a little further to the left, as you're seeing, a little further to the north. The response from the commission was this was unnecessarily altering tree canopy within the riverfront area. Because this is the issue on this property is that Catacounumug River is right behind this property. And so all of this property is in riverfront area. The red line running through the middle of the house is the limit of the inner riparian zone. The red line on the other side of the street, the other side of Flat Hill Road, into the property of 933 is the limit of the outer riparian zone. And the black line is the 50-foot buffer off of the mean annual high water line, which the folks at Goddard Consulting flagged as the limit of resource area here. So we initially had, as I say, the garage further to the north. Pursuant to the feedback from the commission, we moved it to this location. We had further feedback from Mr. Bursch and other members about providing some mitigation or compensation for taking some tree canopy, and I'm circling in this area, is about 1,520 square feet. And what we proposed on this last plan dated July 12th is actually a little bit of different grading around this building, which actually slightly lessens alteration proposed. But also we added proposed planting in the back. You can see the scallop line, which is the existing tree line, in what is right now, these plantings in what is right now a lawn area to help restore that to a natural condition. And that's about 1,600 square feet. It's actually just a little more than the tree canopy area to be altered. And in addition, this new garage structure, is going to send roof runoff all to an infiltration structure in the ground, 9 by 17, just over 2.5 feet deep with 4 Cultec chambers in it. And in addition, I was jumping the gun with my oratory there. We're going to collect runoff from the existing house and also send it to an infiltration structure. Yes, we are working in inner riparian zone, though it's inner riparian zone that is right now is lawn leading down from the septic system. And we are going to, in trade, if you will, for altering some tree canopy here, most of which is in the outer riparian zone, give replanting it back here in the green in the inner riparian zone. And this was about 5 trees as near as we could tell walking around and looking at them. We're going to give 6 trees back here in addition to 11 shrubs. And we're giving the species that Goddard identified with their transects, red oak and black cherry, as the ones that were in the upland in this area. And we're giving northern arrowwood, which they identified as one of the shrubs, and also a couple of butterfly bushes in that area to be planted and go back to a natural condition. So we hope the commission would find this is a reasonable trade, if you will, that yes, there is some alteration, but we're giving back more and closer to the perennial stream itself. Yes, this is altering some lawn area here, but we're also giving you extra infiltration where none exists now. And the DEP file assignment came through and they had a couple other points. One was they asked us to do a alternatives analysis. So we got an MLS listing of the properties for sale in Lunenburg, and not surprisingly, buying any other property is vastly more expensive than I think the closest was 11 times more expensive than this small triangle of land that Mr. Correa is going to purchase from an abutter. And also a couple of those, at least one of them, the one that was actually closest in price, only 11.5 times more. Actually, it was on Lancaster Ave and probably has a stream and wetlands that would have to be crossed to do anything on it anyway. So I think it was pretty clear that there is not a substantially equivalent economic alternative with fewer impacts than what is proposed here, buying this triangle of land, adding it to this lot and making this construction as opposed to doing it elsewhere. And the other quick item that DEP had was they talked about, I'm going to jump to another screen here. They just said, is there any question of the flood zone being at play in here? And on this plan, which is a copy from FEMA, the blue is the flood zone. The black is actually the 500-year. And this is, if I jump back, that's really about around the 301 elevation. There's not a calculated elevation of the flood there, but we overlaid it. It appears to be about 301. It's well back of anything that's being done, even the mitigative planting and infiltration. So we have a couple times here. I'll leave it on screen sharing in case there's a question, but I'll finish with that. We have a couple times altered the plan. I hope we've got something that is a reasonable position in the board's eyes for what we're giving in return for what is the applicant is getting. And I think we try to follow directive from the commission in arriving at this solution, but I'll try and answer any questions.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was just going through the DEP comments. What is the total disturbed area within the inner riparian zone?
Oh, shoot. Boy, I've got it in the notes here on this plan. It's hard for me to see. I apologize. Inner riparian zone has already been all. Well, we added at the urging of one of our previous meetings, we added to the plan note number 2. Number 1 notes that there's 49,700 square feet of riverfront area. It's essentially the entire site. Number 2 notes that a total of 21,492 square feet of the inner riparian zone has already been altered.
And does that incorporate the DEP's comments that you're not to include lawn in that calculation?
No, that does include that. That's saying that lawn is altered. Now, I mean, DP also gets into, distinctions of how much they feel something is degraded. But we were just literally noting what has been altered, not in any way from a natural condition, not describing something as explicitly, quote, degraded, unquote, in as DP would deem it.
Well, I think we need to follow the DEP's guidance on this. That's my opinion. As one member of the commission, we'll hear from other commissioners if they have questions or comments. So you don't have a calculation for the impacted area that excludes the lawn that the DEP said you couldn't include. Is that right?
I don't, if you can't count lawn as alteration, then you're asking what is the existing footprint of the house and the existing driveway.
Yes.
I don't have that exact number. It's on the order of 4,000 square feet, but I don't have the exact number.
Okay. Anyway, I apologize for the pause. I'm reading through I see that you did the alternatives. I see that you added the floodplain. Now, you have added the floodplain to the drawing?
I didn't add it to the drawing itself. I was just showing that from the FEMA attachment where that is. To the problems, the FEMA doesn't have a described or calculated elevation to that. And you can see their blue is getting off of the property right about at the brook, and that would put it at, again, as I say, at about 301. It just doesn't quite match the topography now and the mean annual high water line and exactly the shape of that. And I thought it would look odd because it curves a little differently than the topography does.
Okay, so I will open the floor to my my fellow commissioners now. I see a question from Bob Pease.
Thank you, Mary. I also am kind of focused on the DEP comments, about not counting lawn, and I'm not prepared. I'd like to hear from the DEP, what they had to say about, because I assume you submitted this to them as you did to us.
Yeah.
And while it might be awkward, I would prefer to see the floodplain on the same map as
Okay.
that we're looking at, so that we have everything in one place.
Okay.
Because I'm still, I'm very interested to see what was included in the disturbance, in the previous disturbance. So I can think about and evaluate it, and it's not clear to me, looking at the plane, looking at the plan, what was the previous disturbance.
Well, I think you would simply, again, as we were looking at it, you've got the scallop line, which is the existing tree line, which is the limit of the lawn. And we were counting basically everything that was lawn and house and walk and driveway as the previous disturbance. I know there's a distinction as to what is, quote, degraded. But as to disturbance and what is not in a natural condition, we were counting everything outside of the tree line.
And I would love to hear what the DEP has to say about that decision that you've made.
Sure.
That's my personal opinion. Thank you.
Okay.
And also, I heard one person say that if you take and you add to the lot, that it creates a new lot. And that it could jeopardize the whole idea of that, you know, it's a pre-1996 lot. And I'd love to hear from the DEP.
We're not asking, and we're not asking this to be permitted as a pre-1996 lot. We're asking this to be permitted as a redevelopment project. And I think somebody else in a maybe it was the other gentleman, Two Hill, who's off to the east of this, on the other side of Catacounumug,
Yeah,
who said that he was when he spoke at one of the previous meetings, said, well, this wouldn't count as something you could say you're doing qualifying as a pre-96 lot because there's already garage, so you can't say that you require or should be allowed another garage as a pre-96 lot. So we weren't asking for permission on that basis.
thank you for clarifying that. But my other comments remain. Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? Okay, do we have any questions or comments from members of the public? Jenny Albertson.
Hi, excuse me. First, I'm going to apologize because I'm sitting here doing other things. And then I heard a comment about two button bushes, not button bushes.
Butterfly.
Thank you. Two butterfly bushes. And I would respectfully request that you substitute that with something native and something that might benefit the pollinators. I'm a volunteer at the community pollinator habitat. And butterfly bushes are like sugar water for the butterflies that come to them. There's no nutrients in it. And they can be invasive and they're not native to this area. You could put in a couple of dogwoods or, there's a Clethra alnifolia. It's late.
Ice bush. That's a
Spice
spice bush,
bush
yes. Yeah,
would be nice, or what is it, sweet spire. There's a lot of native shrubs that are very colorful, just as pretty as butterfly bush, but more nutritious for the little animals. That's all.
Jenny, may I ask, just for the public record, what your address is as well?
I'm sorry, my home address?
Yeah, generally speaking, that's the protocol for members of the public to say their name and address.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
it's 50 Upland Avenue,
Thank you.
and I don't have any butterfly bushes in my yard.
Thank you, Jenny.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have questions or comments from any other members of the public or butters to this property? Okay.
Well, then, Madam Chair, I think I need to ask you for a continuance to address the questions that you and Mr. Pease have raised.
Thank you. Yes, that is where I think I am. So thank you for that request. So do I have a motion for my commissioners to continue? And Mr. Tetro, how do you want it to be, to the next meeting or to a following meeting? So the next meeting is 9/6.
I guess I would ask to the next meeting, and if we cannot address things in that time, we would ask to continue before that meeting comes up.
Thank you, sir. So do I have a motion for my commissioners to continue this hearing to 9/6?
I motion,
I heard two people on top of each other.
this
Was
is
that-
Chris. I
okay.
motion,
Chris St. Germain to,
motion for continuance, yes.
okay, and then I hear Rich Tremblay is the second.
Second.
Thank you. All right, thank you. So the motion to continue to 9/16 is approved. Moving along.
Oh, you gotta have a vote, Mary.
Oh, I do have to have a vote. Thank you, Bob. So we will do a roll call vote. Bob Pease,
Aye.
Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
and I for myself.
Great.
Now
Thank you,
it's approved to continue. Thank you all. All right, moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Michael Mascarelli for tree removal at 131 Island Road. Do we have the Mascarellis here tonight?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Very good.
I would just share my screen for a
Thank you.
second. Yep. Okay. Just to kind of bring us up to speed, I think this goes back to the July 5th meeting where I was asked to revise the plan a little bit, and we went back to that and we made the revisions that were asked for. And I think one of the concerns of the committee was the fact of the tree removal, losing of the canopy, and what we might be doing to kind of mitigate that a little bit. And meeting with two different landscapers and my tree person, we've kind of looking at the size of the lot and what it would take is we're looking to see that we probably will be able to replace 5 of the trees. We're planning on a maple, a couple of 2 dogwoods and 2 cherries that we plan to place in place of the trees we're taking down. And then the rest of it would be shrubberies that we would be using in a border shrub on one side of the property with arborvitaes. We have a walkway that comes down off of the driveway towards the lake, and we were looking at mountain laurel in there. And then just a mix of some blueberries and some forsythia on the other side on the property line. So from what the landscapers thought, the numbers are in the key there. It was a 1 maple, 2 dogwoods, 2 cherries, 12 arborvitaes, 10 mountain laurels, 4 blueberries and 6 blueberries and 6 forsythias. So just wanted to present that as where we're at, tonight, and hopefully that's, a little bit going in the direction that you're hoping to see us go in.
Thank you, Mike. That addresses all of the questions that I had from the previous meeting and the ones that I recall, but it does raise a couple of questions for me. The arborvitae species that you're going to put in front of you have a lovely view of the lake there from your house, from what I assume is like the family room. Will the
Yes.
arborvitae species that you source, will they remain not grow so high that they obscure your view?
Well, the arborvitaes were going to be on the border, kind of a
Oh,
hedge.
okay,
hedge
yeah,
for
it's the
for
mountain laurel.
Yeah, the mountain laurel was going to be kind of in the front there.
Yeah, and so that mountain laurel will also be like some type of smaller pygmy type of
Exactly.
mountain
That's
laurel.
what pygmy is the word. I couldn't think of the word, but that was the word that they used.
Okay,
Mhm.
and then up adjacent to the road, that maple tree, I don't recall from visiting your site what side of the road the power lines are on. That maple tree won't grow into the power lines?
No, power's across the street.
Okay, excellent, excellent. No more questions for me. I'll open the floor to the other commissioners. I see no one with a raised hand. I'll open the floor to members of the public. Oh, Bob Pease raised his hand. Yes, Mr. Pease.
Well, my comment is, it appears to me that the Mascarellis have bent over backwards to address some of the comments that were made at the prior public hearings. But I'm not quite sure why the Mascarellis are being asked, or it was even suggested that they take and do replacement trees. The trees that are coming down are a fair distance from the lake. Mascarelli's presented some pretty compelling pictures of damage from these trees. You know, I think there's excellent arguments for them coming down, you know, as a danger to you know, people and property. You know, we have a provision in our own bylaw that says if you cut a tree down within 30 feet of within the no disturbance zone, well, then you have to replace it. We don't have any other provisions that you know, if you cut trees down outside of the 30-foot setback, you know, that you have to replace it. Now, unfortunately, the way it works, you know, if you want someone to vote yes for it, you sometimes you have, you know, you have to take and do, you know, make them happy, but, you know, a commissioner happy, but in my view, we're enforcing the Wetlands Protection Act, and the only reason we work with applicants about the buffer is to protect the wetlands. It's not the Buffer Protection Act, the Buffer Zone Protection Act. It's the Wetlands Protection Act, and so that's my soapbox speech for tonight. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bob. My take on it's a little bit different from yours. You're not surprised to hear that, right?
No, I'm not surprised.
So I'm very clear there's a mandatory replacement within the 30. My understanding is that the Wetlands Protection Act also charters us to preserve the canopy within the 100-foot setback and within the inner riparian zone to the extent that it's reasonable to do so.
And I would ask, Madam Chair, that on our own time, some other time, you show me where the Wetlands Act charges us to preserve canopy.
Yep, I'd be happy to do that.
Excellent. I stand to be educated.
Yeah, we'll do that. But I do appreciate Mike Mascarelli actually being very aggressive. I mean, he's done a lot more than we had asked him to do, and I do very much appreciate that.
Yeah,
So
and again, I
thank
mean, it's really to make the property look a little nicer as well, too. So
mhm.
everything that we're planning on doing will certainly, you know, add to the look of the property as well.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking for a motion here. We've given the commissioners an opportunity to speak and members of the public an opportunity to speak.
I'd like to make a motion that we give a negative determination for the plan that's being presented here tonight. And that's my motion.
And I second that motion.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank-
We'll go for a roll call vote. Richard Tremblay,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain.
I wasn't here on July 5th and my,
I think you're correct. Yep. So Bob Pease
Aye.
and I for myself. So that is a finding of a negative determination for this RDA. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mascarelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the members of the board. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Larry Coffran and Marcia Beers for the relocation of an existing deck at 205 Sunset Lane. Do we have Mr. Coffran and Ms. Beers or their representative here on the call?
Hi, Mary. This is Marcia Beers. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So Seth Donahue from Dillis and Roy is representing us, but I don't see that he's joined yet. So I don't know if we can skip it for now. He said he would be here. He just had another meeting before this.
Yeah, we can go on to the next one, and hopefully Seth will join us.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on an amended order of conditions by Nicholas Eaton for repair and construction of an existing deck at 441 Townsend Harbor Road. Do we have Nick or his representative here tonight?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, very good. Why don't you proceed?
Okay, so nothing really has changed. I haven't been able to get down to the building department. It was probably, I don't know, a month ago when I first came on here. I had given, I forget what her name was. She used to be on the commission or the administration. I had given her the set of plans.
Anna Petrie. Yeah.
Yeah. I had given her the set of plans that had like all the dimensions on it. So I didn't really know, other than going to the building department through the permit process, I didn't know what I needed to get to you guys. Nothing's changing. There's no problem with the post not being in the water. We can make that happen.
Okay. I actually was just going to that folder to see if that got loaded.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if my recollection is at the last public hearing, Richard Birch suggested to Nick that he take and come back with a new design that showed the deck, a reconfigured deck where it had the same area, but it didn't have feet in, but it wasn't extending actually into the resource area. And Nick said that wouldn't be a problem. And, he'd work on that and get back to us. And so I was expecting tonight to see, a plan for a new deck plan, that had the same area, but, no longer extended, into the resource area. And so that's my recollection of what's where this application was and what's holding it up. Thank you, Madam Chair.
That was my recollection as well, Bob. And Nick, is that actually what you had submitted to Anna, or is that something different?
Yeah, so I don't know which pictures you guys have, but it was like a CAD design. So the deck is staying, there's no problem with the deck staying the same. We can have the supports, the same type of support, just not in the water. I guess I wouldn't really be able to get you a picture until obviously we take the deck apart, and then when the building department comes down, he would obviously sign off on it when he sees that the excuse me, when they pretty much rough the frame. Obviously, if the post can't be in the water, I mean, I could call you guys down too. I don't have a problem with that, so you guys can see it. But the deck can stay the same. There's no problem with that. We would support it. We'd pretty much, instead of the supports being in the water, we'd take it back probably 4 feet and it'd still be fine. It still meets code. So no
Bob,
post would be
you
in the
had a
water.
comment?
Well, my comment was that the ask was that the shape of the deck be reconfigured, that it wasn't fine with the commission for the deck to stay as it was, that the deck be reconfigured so it didn't extend out into the resource area. That's my recollection of what the ask was, at the prior meeting.
Consistent with my own recollection.
Yeah,
So-
Rich Birch had said that if we couldn't do that, then we'd have to reconfigure the deck, but we can't. He was pretty much saying that if the post had to stay in the water, then we'd have to reconfigure the deck to the same exact size.
So what you're, yeah, I think I remembered it slightly different. I remembered it aligned with Bob's recollection as well. But we would have to go and review the meeting to confirm. So what you're currently proposing is that the deck stay in the same configuration, that it overhang the resource area, and your design would have the footers actually not in the resource area and do some type of cantilever
Exactly.
stretch out over. And I don't, I was looking for the, plan in the folder. I seem to be having a hard time finding things tonight. I don't know that that detail was actually in the plan.
Yeah,
either.
when I first came on here, it didn't seem like she had given that to you guys. I could forward you guys the email. I don't.
Yeah, I think we would need that. We would need to see the, we would want to see where the footers are going to go. Do we have questions or comments from other members of the commission? Richard Tremblay.
Thanks. Just a quick question for next. Thank you, Madam Chair. Did you submit the new plans to Anna as to where the supports are going to be? Is that what you're saying, or am I confused?
No, it was it was before, like when I had to submit all the paperwork to her, and she had said that the commission would want to see the actual layout of it. So I got the CAD design done, but it's kind of hard to tell where the posts are going to be. Like I said, I mean, when they take I haven't taken the deck apart yet, but when they take it apart, they have to frame in the new deck. So I don't have a problem calling you guys out there so you can see it before it's done. But the post will not be in the water.
Right, but we haven't determined how many posts or their location. We don't have a drawing or anything like that, correct?
Yeah, I don't see that in the drawing that's there. I just see the top surface area of the deck. But so, any more comments, Rich?
No, I'm all set. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Pease?
The commission doesn't go out and approve things in the field. You know, we approve a plan that is submitted and, you know, we approve it in advance and then it's built, you know, according to the plan. We don't take and, you know, go out in the field in the middle of a project and say, oh yeah, that's okay, or that's not okay. It's just not the way we do things. And so speaking for myself, I would want to see a plan in advance that shows exactly where the piers are and the extent of the deck. And I'd still be looking for a deck that doesn't extend into the resource area, speaking for myself. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. I'm going to share, this is the drawing that I found in the folder that does show the deck, right? And after I found this drawing, right, and you'll see it doesn't show any of the piers. One of the other things that had been requested at the last hearing was that the high water mark, the deck be shown correctly in relationship to the high water mark, which it currently is not. So I would be looking personally myself to see where the piers are going to go. I would like for it to be accurate with reference to the high water mark of the lake. And I would also not want the deck to overhang the resource area. Speaking for myself.
So you guys approved, I was told by Dillis and Roy that everything was approved on the order of conditions. Nothing has changed on this deck. So I'm just kind of lost. I don't have I can have something made where you guys can see the supports with the techno post. But why can't the deck stay the same thing as long as the posts aren't in the water? The commission already approved it.
Well, first off, one of the things that we're finding out now, and I can't speak about what was said outside of me being on the commission, but the thing that I observed is that the deck itself is not, this existing deck is not shown accurately relative to the resource area. And that's may seem minor to some people, but that's actually a big issue. Mr. Pease?
My recollection is that at the time the application came in for the house, the applicant made the decision to not include the deck as part of the application, that they were just gonna, he was just gonna leave the deck as was. And if he just wants to leave the deck as is and not change anything, you know, he doesn't, you know, need an application. But he's asking now to change it. He's asking now to replace the deck with a new deck. And as soon as you do that, then, you know, you have to file an application, which is what he has done. And you have to submit a plan that actually shows what's actually there, which this plan doesn't do at all. And so if I had to
That's
vote
not
on
the
the application
picture.
tonight, I would vote no.
This
So
isn't the
I'm urging
picture
the
that I'm talking
applicant-
about, though.
I'm urging the applicant to work with the commission and get to yes. That's my thoughts at this time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Bob. So you're saying this is, Nick, you're saying this isn't the most up to date?
No,
No?
no, that's the that's the order of conditions that was approved. Like, I had a CAD design done. Like of the actual deck. I mean, it's the same thing when you guys came out there, but it's a CAD design showing the structure and it shows how many feet it was.
Okay. Is it this one? Oh, hang on. Now I lost my Zoom. Let me share. Go back to that. Is that this?
No, no.
No? Okay. So I'm gonna go, there's another folder here. I'm gonna go in, that's in the same one. And when did you say that you provided that?
6/5/23. Is there an email that I can forward it to? You can see that I sent it to her.
Yeah, I think forward it to me, M. Wilson at lunenburg.gov.
What is it?
M. Wilson at lunenburg.gov.
M. Wilson at lunenburgma.gov.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Are you forwarding it now, Nick?
Yep.
Because I don't know if anybody else has looked in the folder. I don't see it in the folder. I don't see anything that seems to be what Nick is describing.
It didn't have any of the posts in it, but you should have got the email now.
Ah. Okay, I have the email. Okay, this looks a lot like what we were just looking at.
This one just has the actual dimensions.
Okay. Is there more? Should I keep scrolling down or is that this?
No, that it was pretty much just four angles
Okay,
of it is
this
what it
this
is.
doesn't show. This doesn't show the this is the I think the structure, right? And the dimensions of the deck, but it doesn't show, it's not the same thing as a site plan that shows where these are relative to the resource area. And that's a very important detail than what Bob was trying to relate.
Yeah, that's fine. So, I mean, just tell me what I have to do. Like, should I go back to Dillis and Roy? I mean, this whole plan was done, I don't know, like 3 years ago.
Mhm.
So I'm, the only reason why I'm not changing anything, the only reason why I don't need to do anything with the deck. I'm trying to just, when you guys came out here, like I had told you, when the trees had fallen on the house, one of the limbs hit the corner of it and popped it up, and now you just need to reframe it by code. I mean, if I was gonna be like a bunch of other people, I would have just replaced it on a Mickey Mouse type thing, but I'm just trying to take the wood up and replace it with Trex decking. If I didn't have to reframe it, I would honestly rather not have to reframe it.
Yeah, so I for one would be looking for a drawing, and I don't, for me, and I'm just one member of the commission, you wouldn't have to go to Dillis and Roy and pay them to do the work, but I would be looking for a drawing that shows where the piers are going to be and where the deck and the piers are going to be relative to the high water mark of the lake. That's what I would be looking for. Do any of the other commissioners want to chime in? Anything additional or different that you would be looking for?
I just don't, I mean, I just don't know what you guys want me to, other than the piers, I understand that. I can somehow get a diagram of where the piers are gonna be. But like I said, the deck never changed. It was approved by the conservation, so why does it need to be pulled back or pushed to
So
the side of any sort?
I think what Bob was saying, which kind of is before but my time, is that what was approved was not this deck with the deck on the house, because the deck adjacent to the shed had been the commission had been told that wasn't part of the previous project.
We can go back on all the minutes, everything was approved.
Yeah, we would have to do that.
Yeah.
Richard Tremblay, you had a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, if that deck was approved, we should have an order of conditions on file that would speak to that. I wonder if Nick has the number. We could look it up.
For which deck?
Well, the one that we're talking about right now, you said that it has already been approved. So if it was approved, there had to be an order of conditions issued for that. Am I correct?
Yeah, that picture that you guys have, the Dillis and Roy, that is the order of conditions, so it was approved.
To replace that deck?
No, because it it wasn't anything that I was trying to do. I didn't know that it needed to be reframed until now. I thought you could just kind of pop it up.
Okay, so the order of conditions that were approved, what was that approved for?
That was for the house and the septic.
Okay, so they did draw the other deck on there, but that's not what the order of conditions was all about. And I think
Correct.
that's why we're here today.
Yeah. Again, I'm not trying to argue with you. I just need to know. I mean, obviously, I'd rather have it done correctly. You know what I mean? So if I have to go to Dillis and Roy, and have him show the water, that's fine.
Well, I agree that you just keep the same square footage that you have now, but there may need to be a reconfiguration, because I'd like to know where the support beams are gonna be and where the actual decking will be once it's done.
I think before we send Nick off to talk to his civil engineering firm too, I want to do a straw poll just to see where everybody's mindset is for the deck. Actually, the new deck overhanging the lake as it currently does. And Bob, what are your thoughts on that?
I think I've already expressed my thoughts. A, I need an accurate plan. The plan we have is right now is not accurate. B, the pier supporting it, that clearly cannot be in the water in any case. And C, my personal preference is that the deck not overhang the water.
Thank you, Bob. Rich Tremblay.
I support what Bob just said. I agree.
Mike LaRouche.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement here that the deck has to be on a plan that shows that it's not in the water and it's configured differently than what it currently exists.
And
I think I agree with Bob saying that the deck in question here was never part of the original request that was approved. So this is something different. So I don't know what Nick wants to do, but are you under the, looks like someone's under the impression that that deck was part of the original plan, and that clearly is not the case. But if you could come up with some documentation that says that it was, I'll certainly be open to listening to that. But at this point, it sounds like this is a different deck being discussed. And I'm not aware that it was ever approved as part of the original house project. But certainly I could, if you show me something different, I'd be glad to listen and consider it.
Yes, when I came forward, that deck had nothing to do with it. That was just on the plan. Now that the house is done, I just did the shingles on it, and I obviously re-sided it and went through the whole permit process on that. I'm just trying to make the deck look better than it is. I mean, what I could technically do is just leave the deck as it is and not touch it. If that's what you guys want me to do, I'm all for it. I don't have to touch the deck. I haven't done anything to the deck. I just brought it to you guys for approval. If you guys don't want me to touch it, I won't touch it.
I don't think anybody's saying don't touch it. We're saying that if you do touch it, right, there are constraints. And,
Yes.
and that's what we're getting to. I think everybody here wants to give you the ability to do the work that you want to do within the allowance of the Wetlands Protection Act and the municipal bylaws. So we've heard from Mike. Chris, since this was heard before your time as commissioner, I'm not going to call on you unless you had questions that you wanted to add here.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. So Nick, what the commission is saying, it sounds like they're not in a position to approve anything tonight. So we could make a motion to continue. And what the commissioners are saying here tonight is they want to see a drawing that shows the deck that's under consideration here relative to the resource area to the lake, right? That shows it accurately represented. And where the piers will be that will be supporting that deck, because they are close to the resource area. And we want to ensure they're not going to be in the resource area and have documentation associated with that. They are
That's
not
not-
inclined to allow the deck to overhang the water, even if the piers are in the, even if the piers are outside of the resource area. And so that would mean you'd have to reconfigure the deck. But what I've heard is that you could still have the same square footage, just not allow it to overhang the resource area.
I don't mean to be that guy, but there's a guy right down the road from me. A tree hit his deck and he did the same thing, and his deck is overhanging the lake. If you guys come out here, you guys seen it, that part of the deck overhangs the lake by like a foot. And it's been there for 30 years. Everybody on this lake could literally vouch for that. I'm not going to touch, if you guys don't want me to touch the deck, I'm not going to move the deck to the far right. I won't have any space in my yard. I just won't touch the deck at all, and it can stay.
Not
don't have a
touching the
problem.
deck is an allowable, completely allowable outcome in this case.
Okay.
And we're not hearing anybody else's parcel project tonight. We're talking specifically about yours. So other situations are not material.
As far as the posts go, the post can definitely be out of the water. I can get a design doing that. That's not a problem.
So Nick, do you want to do a continuance?
Yeah, we
Is
can do that. Yeah.
Okay. And you're clear on the guidance that the commissioners have provided you? Do you have any questions or clarifications around that?
Nope.
Okay, so I understand, and our next meeting is 9/6, which might be kind of aggressive if you are actually going to reach out to the Dillis and Roy, I think is who you said you were working with. Do you want me to continue to 9/6 or 9/20?
You could do 9/20.
9/20?
Yep.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to continue to 9/20.
So moved, Richard.
Second, Mike.
Mike. Roll call vote. Bob Pease,
Aye.
Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
and I for myself. So that is a approval to continue this to the 9/20 hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. We never did see the Ropiaks join the call, did we, Bob?
No, we did not.
Okay, that gets us to the end of our scheduled public hearings.
I move we continue that public hearing until our next meeting, which I believe is September 6th.
And you're saying that hearing, do you mean the Sue and Gary Ropiak appointment hearing?
Oh, is it? You're right. You're right. It wasn't a hearing. So never mind. Pay no attention to me.
You have kept me straight so much tonight, Bob. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, I do have a question before we move into the business section of our meeting tonight. There were some emergency orders, and I didn't see. I saw that we wanted to discuss those, but I don't know where those generally fit in our agenda. They're actually, yeah,
Emergency
there
search.
is an emergency certification.
And-
Okay.
And in actual fact, there's some missing there, so. I'll have
Are
to
there?
work, yeah.
Okay.
I'll talk about the emergency search when we get there.
Okay, thanks. Righty, I'm just kind of scanning through the actually, I think I need to circle back to Marcia Beers to see if their representative ever joined the meeting.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of when I was trying to make a motion.
Ah, okay, Bob. I misunderstood you. So, Marcia,
I don't see that Seth has joined yet. I've been kind of holding my breath, hoping he would, but I guess maybe it would make sense to move us to the next call and I can reach out to him tomorrow.
okay, so you're asking for a continuance to 9/6 is, and just email us if it needs to be later than that or whatnot. So do we have a motion to continue 205 Sunset Lane to 9/6?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Chris St. Germain. Roll call vote, Bob Pease,
Aye.
Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche.
Aye.
There it is. He's just coming on.
Do we want to hold the vote and can we, as a
Oh, look
point
at
of
that.
order, can we hold the vote and
Yeah, let's
actually
hold
have the hearing?
vote.
Be nice to get it cleared, and especially since Marcia's been nice enough to wait on the line for an hour, more than an hour and a half, to hope to get that heard. Seth, you're joining us. We were just getting ready. We were in the midst of voting to continue this to 9/6.
I am here. Hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Great. So I apologize for the delay. I had an earlier meeting run a little bit long, but we've been looking forward to speaking with you, so I appreciate your patience.
So Seth, why don't you catch us up with where we were last on this and yeah, you have the floor.
Absolutely. So we started around March. We started discussing Marcia's dock with you guys. So this is at 205 Sunset Lane, which is a very small lot. And I'll skip over a lot of that back history as we've spoken about it quite a bit. The applicant was originally granted a negative determination of applicability to construct a deck and dock structure at the site. Some point along the way, it became apparent to the commission that there was a slight departure from what was approved. And that's when we became involved. So we submitted an as-built plan to the commission. Indeed, there was a slight departure. I think the biggest issue that the commission has had an issue with is the lower landing area actually overhangs the bank of the lake. And there's two supports that touch the lake bottom. So what we had done is submitted a notice of intent at the request of the commission, and that was to relocate that lower landing area. We're essentially agreeing to move it back to the top of the bank, which was the originally approved location. And in doing that, it slightly reduces the footprint because it's a very steep slope and there's areas of it that are stacked. And what we've come up with is that there's a difference of about 72 square feet in total structure area that is a departure from what the commission approved via the RDA that was submitted.
Seth, do you have that documentation to show us or those drawings to show
I
us?
absolutely do. So if you can bear with me, I will pull that right up. And I'm going to share my screen now, if that's all right with the commission.
Yes, please do.
All right, so hopefully what's before you is the blow up of the area. There's an existing deck, a series of stairways that provides access down to a seasonal dock that's removed in the winter. And there's an existing landing area at the bottom section. This is the wintertime water level. The bank is actually up on this line right here. And so what we're proposing is to move the lower landing area back. It's about 5.6 feet on the northerly side and 4.4 feet on the southerly side. And as I mentioned, there's a slight departure in the square footage compared to what the commission had previously approved via the RDA and what's actually constructed. And what we're proposing to mitigate that is a planting area on either side of the structure. So that is mitigation that wasn't approved or required with the original approval of the construction of the structure. And that mitigation area is going to equal, it's 4 times the amount of discrepancy between what was built and what was approved by the commission. This is a steep slope, generally pine trees on the slope. So we're proposing a mix of lower story shrubs because it's very sparse understory in that area. And then the entirety of the area will be seeded as well with one of New England wetlands plants, conservation and wildlife mixes in this case. So the intent would be to stabilize the slope and also to provide long-term vegetation understory that's generally lacking. So I think it's a nice improvement over what the commission had originally approved via the RDA. It's something that wasn't required that the applicant is willing to undertake as part of this. And that would be coupled with moving the lower landing back to the location that was essentially approved via the RDA. So that's a snapshot of where we were when Anna was still with you. She was kind enough to allow me to meet her in her office. We went through all the records related to this project and found that what we had submitted in the NOI, we had included a copy of the negative determination of applicability. We had also included a copy of the RDA plan that was approved, showing a configuration of the structure. They're consistent with what's in the commission's files. So I know there's a long history here, so if there's any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions. Thank you, Seth. So the lower landing is going to stay the same dimensions as the as-built drawing, which I think was 7 by 10.
Correct. So the as-built drawing, my understanding is that was actually drawn by a member of the commission, the hand-drawn one, and we had submitted a standalone as-built drawing as part of our NOI application. And I'd be happy to pull that one up if you would like to see that as well.
Yes, if you, Bob, yeah, you had a comment?
I'd like to see the present plan we're looking at about twice as big.
Okay, fair comment.
So if Seth could take, and, like zoom in a little, so we could actually see the details of what he's talking about, that would be wonderful.
Oop, much too big. Not enough detail for you, Bob?
A little too much, Seth. Thank you so much.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
So that's the work area, is what you're looking at there.
So can you show the existing deck, or the existing deck area and the proposed deck area?
Yeah, I'm going to draw right on this for you.
Yeah, I can see now. You don't need to do that.
Okay.
Speaking for myself. So if I'm sorry, Mary, because you said you had some questions, but do I understand that the only difference then is you're going to relocate the deck, take the piers out of the water, and add the plantings, and everything else would stay the same?
Correct. So that the lower landing will be slid back, and then there'll be a bunch of plantings on the slopes.
Thank you, Mary. That's all I have, and I'm sorry I usurped your time.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, so Seth, I think in answering Bob's question, you answered mine. So the lower landing, the outside dimensions are going to remain the same as the as-built.
Correct. Yeah, it's a horizontal move.
Okay. And that is 7 by 10, or you have to go look that up to see what the dimensions
I can look that
are.
up. So it's buried in your notice of intent application. If you bear with me 1 second.
While you're doing that, I want to ask members of the commission, because I had looked today and I didn't see it. Were there DEP comments on the NOI?
None.
None? Okay. Thank you, Bob. And I did see in the letter that you sent, Seth, that summarized your dialogue with Anna, that previous meetings, the commission had asked for the deck to be reworked back to the original approved RDA dimensions.
So that's correct. So the original RDA, I don't want to redig history where I'm not sure where there's problems, and without a doubt, I've spoken with Marcia quite a bit. This was not something that she did and said, "Oh, I'm just going to get away with it." Very remorseful about what happened, a complete misunderstanding, and part of that misunderstanding stems from the original RDA plan really wasn't to scale. So what the commission thought might have been one thing, and what the applicant thought may have been another thing. And so our solution, instead of trimming off pieces of this structure and reworking it in place, is essentially to provide the mitigation at the 4:1 ratio that's been proposed.
I understand the proposal, Seth. You still looking for that?
Yeah, so it's
Drawing.
about, it's 8 feet and inches on the lower tier.
It's say
in
that again.
depth. 8 feet and inches. 8 feet, 8.5 feet.
8.5 feet by what?
It's coming up for me right here.
Okay.
Uh, 14.5.
So it's 8.5 by 14.5.
That's correct.
I think that's bigger than the drawing that I saw. I thought I saw, now that I'm looking at my annotations, 8 by 6 on the lower deck.
Are you referring to the RDA plan?
Yeah.
I'm seeing if I can get a copy of that before. So that was a hand sketch. And I have it coming up here. Uh, 8 by 6 was the dimension on the RDA plan.
Okay. Okay, and so what's on your plan is that you showed us
So,
was 8.5 by 14?
2.5 feet greater in depth, and then 6 feet greater in width.
Okay, so 8 by 14.
Yeah, 8.5 by 14.
And somehow that reduces the overall square footage?
Well, the stairs, the footprint of the structure, the upper stairs are actually landing on the lower deck.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they're at the edge of it, so that the footprint from a bird's eye view will be reduced from it too. There's some other changes in the overall dimensions, and some of them are less, and some of them are a slight departure from the dimensions on the RDA plan. So overall,
Do you have a table that actually shows what's there now versus what you're proposing?
So we gave you the whole a standalone as-built plan, and I can pull that up for you if you'd like.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see that. Thank you.
And start share the screen again. And so this, if you actually took the dimensions that are on the RDA plan, what you have in the dashed line is what the commission had approved. Obviously, it sticks out quite a bit into the water area, and I think that's where one of the discrepancies came from. And then the bold lines are the existing structures that are significantly upshore from the dimensions that were on the RDA plan.
Okay, and then the dimensions of the lower deck here?
So that it's one and the same. So your NOI plan, we're using that exact same lower landing and sliding it back in a easterly direction to get it up above the bank.
Okay, but that didn't tell me the dimensions.
It's the same dimensions that we were just talking about, the 8.5.
By 14.
Correct. So if you need it in table form, we can certainly do that.
Well, I'm only one voice in the commission. I'll open the floor for the other commissioners to ask questions or make comments. I think my concern here is that we had something approved, something different was built, and I am very concerned about setting a precedence that we continue to allow that on the commission. Seems
Yeah,
like the wrong precedence to set.
if I can speak to that, as I said, Marcia is very regretful the way that this happened. It was certainly not intended outcome of this, simple misunderstanding on the applicant's end. And what they've asked us to do is to incorporate the mitigation that really wasn't initially part of this project at a much greater ratio than what the discrepancy is. Certainly, I don't think there's a precedent, as every project's unique in that the commission makes us come in with a standalone plan for each and every project and evaluates it on very specific circumstances. So what we'd like to do is, if the mitigation is agreeable to the commission, certainly work to come to a resolution on that and keep the existing deck in some shape or form. If the commission is certainly not agreeable to that, you can let us know, and Marcia and I can discuss, and we can see if there's other options that we can come up with.
Yeah, fair enough. I hear you, Seth. I'm opening the floor for the other commissioners to ask questions or make comments. I see Rich Trembley's raised his hand. Rich, you have the floor.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. Seth, just help me understand, can you put that diagram back up on the screen that we were just looking at a moment ago?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I'm looking at the existing one is there now, and I'm looking at that lower deck. Is what is 8.5 by 14? Is that what you were saying?
Correct.
Okay, and you want to reduce it to what? 6 by 8?
No, the intent is to allow that deck to remain and slide it up gradient to the east. That's what's on your notice of intent plan. So it has
Just wanna
dimensions to
shift it
allow that
over.
to. Correct.
Shift it over so that it's all just up on the land. We're not going to change the size of it at all.
Correct.
Okay, now let's go up to the other landing. The other landing is not going to be changed at all. It's going to remain that size.
We desire to leave it that side. So they adjusted the shape of that to work around that pine tree. There's a 24-inch pine tree called out on the as-built plan.
Right, but now you're shifting it so that's all out the window with the pine tree, right?
No, the pine would be preserved. I can pull up the notice of intent plan if you'd like again.
No, that's okay. I'm good with that. I'm still wrestling and struggling with what was approved, the sizes of what was approved and the sizes of what we have here before us tonight. And it doesn't look like we're willing to give anything except to try to take it out of the water.
So
Is
here-
that their assumption?
This is the tabulation is on this as-built plan.
Okay,
So it's 313 square feet. Excuse me, 222 square feet for the decking. And then 313 is what was actually built.
mm-hmm. But we're not gonna give up any square footage of this decking. We're just gonna try to shift it around on the property, reposition it, and leave it pretty much as it is right now. Is that a fair assumption?
The lower landing, the intent is to keep it the same size. It has railings on it, to move it up gradient, would get it into the correct location, or what I believe was the intended location originally. And then to supplement that with the mitigation plantings. That's what's proposed.
All right. Okay, I'm all set, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Seth, that upper deck, what are the, what's the square footage of that or the current dimensions of that?
Bear with me, I can generate those. It is 15.5 at its widest point and 8.5 at its widest point. The
Okay.
narrow side is 6 feet.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Mike, you had a question or comment? Floor is yours.
Yes, Seth, is any part of the lower deck in the water still?
It's not altered from since we began this discussion. So there's two supports that sit and they rest on the bottom. They're not dug into the bottom. They're just held in place by gravity. So the intent would be to remedy that.
So they're still in the water?
Yeah, I don't know if they're 2 by 2, 4 by 4. There's 2 posts that are there.
I just
Okay.
want to make certain we're not talking around each other. Mike, are you asking about the current as-built situation or what's proposed in the in this NOI?
I guess I'm asking, how different is what the as-built, which was not approved, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I would like to see what has been approved. And is there any mitigation around that happening in this new plan?
I don't think I'm fully following the question. So the NOI was submitted to adjust what was built. So we became involved in this earlier this year when we prepared an as-built plan that gave you guys a picture of exactly what was there, which is a departure from the RDA plan that was approved.
Okay,
And
I guess-
so, oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, just for clarification, there's been no modifications to the structure. We've had a couple conversations and waiting to have this conversation with the commission.
But you're proposing modifications to the structure, right?
Yes, so we're proposing to completely remove it from the lake so that the supports that are in question would be removed and this would be moved up gradient of the bank.
So there would be no supports in the lake
Correct,
after your modification.
that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments by commissioners? Rich, you have your hand up.
And just make sure we're all on track, because I think we got it now. I mean, you are gonna shift it to take it out of the water, but there isn't really gonna be any reduction in the square footage of area from what exists now, what was built, and what will be there if this plan is approved. Is that a fair statement?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Bob, I see your hand raised.
But if I understand it right, correctly, there'll be a reduction in the usable square footage because some of the deck will now be under the stairs. And so no one will actually be able to use it because some of the deck will be under the stairs. Do I have that right?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. All right, if there are no further questions by, well, and I guess I'm going to make my own comments too. I've asked my questions, but I am not inclined, as one vote on the commission, I am not inclined to approve additional square footage. That's, I just think that's the wrong precedence to set, and I think we'll be asking for a lot of trouble. And I'm not presuming fault anywhere. You know, I understand, appreciate, you know, that maybe some misunderstandings happened, and there was not an intent to do the wrong thing, but still, the commission acts in good faith on what is submitted, and that's what we expect to be built. And we don't want to set a precedence, in my humble opinion, of people coming back later and saying, oh, my bad, I built a lot more than what I was supposed to do. Let me put some plantings in here. Again, just one voice and one vote on this. I will think I'll see if there are any members of the public that have comments or questions.
Hi, this is Marcia.
Hi,
just
Marcia.
a couple comments from me. I know we have said in prior meetings, but I just wanted to reiterate that when we were doing this build, it was still during COVID, and that lower deck, the only timber tech size boards that were available at Mackey's were the 15-foot, and the carpenter offered, you know, he was going to cut them up and bring them in, but we were told to do as minimal construction on the site as possible. And because there was, you know, enough room there, we said, no, don't cut them and don't waste them. Let's just use them. So that's on us. Like, we made that decision. But really because we thought it was the right thing to do at the time. And we also, because we had the negative determination, we didn't understand that if anything was changing, that we needed to come back. We understood that negative determination to mean, oh, what you're doing has no impact, so go ahead. So that's also our, you know, our ignorance with the process. We didn't understand. The size of that lower deck, though, it actually became an advantage because we store all the pieces of the dock on it. We can stack them up on it, and they're not on the ground. And so the planting on that left side of the banking where there's hardly anything there, will be good because we can help to stabilize it. It's pretty eroded. And we really just want to preserve the site. We want to do everything we can to make it last, because there is some erosion there, and the water during the summer with all the waves is just tearing apart that bottom section. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Bob, I see, recognize your hand raised. You have the floor.
I would just suggest that it might be in the applicant's best interest if you did a straw poll so they could see where the commission lies about, you know, the size of the lower deck, you know, if it's slid back, so they can figure out, do they want to take and, you know, ask for a continuance, or do they want to, you know, go down in flames tonight, or, you know, what's their path forward? So that's just a suggestion, Madam Chair.
No, I think we appreciate that comment. We've been waiting a couple of meetings to be able to have this conversation, and kind of at our first conversation, there was a lot of confusion over what had been submitted in the past and what was in the commission's files. I think we've resolved that, and that we're at least all on the same page, and that we're all dealing with the same plans, the same approvals, and now the same request for modification. We certainly, if the commission is not agreeable to incorporating the mitigation, we would certainly be, I don't know if willing is the correct word, but Marcia and I can certainly discuss modifying the structure to meet the same exact square footage that the commission required and removing the mitigation from the equation in this. So I guess if the commission would be willing to just give us some guidance on how you feel about the two options, we'd certainly appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Seth, and Bob, thank you for that suggestion. I think I'll take you up on it. So I do kind of want to do a straw poll, but I think what I kind of want to hear from the commissioners is not just limited to the dimensions of the lower deck, but the dimensions overall, right? Versus you know, what was approved and what is currently being proposed. And I'll start with you, Bob, since you made the excellent suggestion.
Well, I think they have to reduce the size of the lower deck. The neighbors all pointed to it. You know, when they come in and asked to build similar things, you know, and we told the neighbors, well, that's not approved. And when we denied them, I'm not sure I'm ready to take and have them rip out the stairs. It seems that seems excessive, but I do think they have to get the lower deck out of the water and reduce its size. That's where I'm coming from personally. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Bob. Rich Tremblay.
I think I'm pretty much with Bob on this. I'd like to see the project come back a little more in line to what was originally approved. We got to get out of the water. We got to downsize it a little bit.
Thank you, Rich. Mike LaRouche.
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. How long has this deck been in the water? Can I ask that question?
I wouldn't know the answer to that. So we became involved around January of this year. And I believe that was after Anna and
Couple
perhaps
years
some
would be my guess.
So it sounds like the applicant has enjoyed this lavish size deck. And now at this point in time, we're asking them, we'd like to see it back to where we had approved it. I'm sorry we have to ask for that, but based on what Bob Pease and Rich Tremblay, you know, we don't want to set this precedent by us, the commission, who have said no to other applicants that you can't do this because this was not approved. So you don't really give us a lot of choice, but let's see if we can dial it back to what was approved. And just be thankful you've had 2 years to enjoy it the way it was, even though it was not approved. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And I, again, speaking as a sole only one voice on the commission, I would like to see the square footage brought back to closer to where it was. I'm not interested in seeing the stairs changed at all. But I do note that the upper platform was originally approved for 7 by 10, and by your estimation, Seth, is 15.5 by 8.5. So that's substantially larger. And then the lower deck, originally approved for 8 by 6, is now 8.5 by 14, also substantially larger. I would like to see this brought into alignment with more in alignment with what was originally approved and of course brought out of the water. And Chris, I'm not calling on you tonight because you had not heard any of the previous dialogue prior to you becoming a commissioner.
Understood.
This is
Seth,
Marcia. Can I make a comment?
Yes, Marcia.
First of all, I know that the neighbors all, saw what we did and wanted the same and submitted applications, but they all have different situations. The Harrisons, their lot is very narrow and they are limited to what they could do. And John on the other side isn't a resident of Lunenburg, so he had other situations he had to look into. And I just feel that what Seth has demonstrated is the plan that was approved, the drawing. If we went back and built that plan, we'd be further out into the lake. That's all.
Thank you, Marcia. Seth, do you have any other questions for the commission?
No, I've received your feedback. We appreciate your time. Again, I apologize for my tardiness in coming here tonight. And I think Marcia and I will discuss some options to move forward. I just want to make it clear that modifying the deck is an option to move forward at this point in the commission's eyes. I don't want to spend 3 or 4 months in going through different iterations of this to come to a conclusion that the commission's of the opinion that it should be torn out.
Seth, I didn't hear that at all. And what I understand from the dialogue that we've heard tonight and the previous meetings that I've been party to is that the commission is supportive of the resident wanting to use the parcel and wanting to use the parcel in a responsible way that protects the wetlands. But we do expect that the proposals that are put before us are what's actually implemented.
I understand. Thank you.
So I understand you're proposing for a continuance. Is that right?
That certainly sounds appropriate. I think we have some discussion to have still.
And are you asking for a continuance to 9/6 or 9/20?
9/6 should be fine.
Okay, so do I have a motion to continue to 9/6?
So moved.
And a second?
Second,
Thank you. Roll call vote. Bob Pease,
Aye.
Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
aye.
and I for myself to continue this to 9/6. Thank you, Seth and Marcia.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Now we're in the business section of the agenda. Do we have anybody that's on the line that is waiting for a certificate of compliance?
Yes, Nat Dutton,
That done, what?
54 Pine Acres Road.
Pine Acres.
Yeah, it's an old, this is from 1997.
Okay. Going to reorder the agenda so that we can get to you. You've been waiting patiently.
Yeah, this is Brandon Ducharme with David E. Ross. I'm here for that as well.
Also for 54 Pine
correct.
Acres or? Okay.
Yep.
Just gonna go look and see. Now I understand Adam Bernie has been out on that property. Yeah.
Yeah, last Thursday, I believe he was out on the site walking it.
Okay. Okay, I found his memo. Okay, Matt saying that, or I'm sorry, Adam saying that he visited the property the 10th of August. He observed a single family home constructed on the peninsula. Size, location, and setbacks from the resource area are significantly in compliance with the plan submitted to and approved by the Conservation Commission in 1993. And his recommendation is that the commission issues a certificate of compliance. Any questions or concerns by members of the commission? Any comments by the representatives for the parcel? Any comments from members of public? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for 54 Pine Acres.
So moved.
Second,
Second, Mike, thank you. Roll call. Richard Tremblay,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
aye.
Bob Pease,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
and I for myself. So that approves the certificate of compliance for 54 Pine Acres.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
You.
I'm also here for a certificate of compliance for 43 Summer Street.
43 Summer Street.
This is Ian Ainsley speaking.
Okay, and I understand that someone came out and walked your parcel as well.
Yes.
I'm looking at
Anna
Adam's,
Petrie
Adam's letter.
Oh,
and
okay.
Adam as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Bob, would you read Adam's comments to us?
He said, I visited the property at 10:45, 10 a.m. August 23rd. During this visit, I observed the parking area and building on the site had been renovated. The parking area reconstructed has resulted in a reduction of impervious and the addition of a stormwater BMP adjacent to the resource area. The size, location, setbacks from the resource area are certificately in compliance with the plan submitted to and approved by the Conservation Commission. It would be my recommendation the Conservation Commission issue a certificate of compliance.
Okay, any comments from commissioners? Any comments from the representative? Members of the public? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, I got
Second,
Bob as a primary motion, a second by Mike LaRouche. All right, let's do a roll call vote. Richard Tremblay,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Bob Pease,
Aye.
and I for myself. So that approves 43 Summer Street.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can we do 386 Sunset?
Yes, let's do 386 Sunset. Bob, if you're in that folder, can you see comments there?
1 second. I was looking at Pine Acres. 386 Sunset. Let's see, Adam Bernie memo. I visited the property at 12 a.m. 10 August. During this visit, I observed the concrete block wall in place at the edge of the property. Additionally, the replacement of two small concrete patios were completed with pavers that will permit additional infiltration. The size, location, and setbacks from the resource area are significantly in compliance with the plan submitted to and approved by the Conservation Commission. It would be my recommendation the commission issue a certificate of compliance.
Comments from commissioners? Any comments from the applicant? Members of the public? I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved. Mike,
Second, Bob.
Pease, Mike for the primary motion, and Bob for the second. Roll call vote. Bob Pease.
Aye.
Rich, I think this is your property, yeah?
Correct.
So you're abstaining.
Affirmative.
Mike LaRouche,
aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
and I for myself. That's approval for 386 Sunset Lane. So now I think we're looking at 475 Shirley Road. There we go. It limits to Shirley Road.
Okay, I visited the property at 11:30 a.m. 10 August 2023. During this visit, I observed that on the site, a 375 square foot warehouse and appurtenant facilities have been constructed. The site has been entirely stabilized and the storm water facilities are in place and functioning. In addition to my site visit, the planning board's review engineer, Jeff Walsh of Graves Engineer Incorporated, has reviewed the site and found the construction is substantially in compliance with approved plans. The size, location, and setbacks from the resource area are significantly in compliance with the plan submitted to and approved by the Conservation Commission. It will be my recommendation that the Commission issue a certificate of compliance.
I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved. Mike,
Mike, and a second.
Second,
Second, Richard.
Chris.
unanimous. Thank you. Roll call vote. Bob Pease,
Aye.
Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
and I for myself to approve the certificate of compliance for 475 Leominster Shirley Road. Okay, that clears some stuff off of our to-do list. I see on the iPhone that we still have, or on her iPhone or their iPhone, Nisha O'Callahan. Nisha, could you unmute yourself and let me know what you are here for? Make certain we prioritize that. So if Nisha maybe is just hanging out.
She's actually here for 54 Pine Acres. She was standing in for me.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's approved. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go back to our regularly scheduled program. And so new business. Bob, you had sponsored this topic, open meeting law, public records and conflicts of interest, and a YouTube link.
Well, I just, when I watched, or actually I listened to it while I was at the gym, Adam Costa's presentation on public records, open meeting law and conflict of interest. There was something new in there that's happened in the last 4 months, which is that the Supreme Court ruled that you can't take and cut somebody off because at a public hearing, so long because they're being rude, calling you names, or making wild accusations, that's free speech, and we can't just throw them out because we don't like what they're saying. And that was new and different. And I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention, for our future reference. That's all.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm curious about with regard to that, and I don't know if anybody has any information or an opinion. What if a member of the public is maybe won't be quiet and won't
That's
respond
entirely different.
calls
People
of
have to be
order?
recognized by the chair. You can take and you can say, like they do at the selectmen's meetings, say public comments limited to 3 minutes.
Mhm.
You can cut them off after 3 minutes. You can say, oh, that's not about something that's on, that's germane to this committee. That's entirely different,
Okay.
than you don't like the content of what they're saying.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that, and thanks for making it visible to the group. We always benefit from kind of the commissioner sharing those kinds of tidbits. Do we have any updates on the Timber Rights Fund?
Nope.
Okay. I did hear something interesting from Eric Foster from Lunenburg Public. I don't even know what it's public. It's not public radio. Public
Lunenburg Public Access.
Public access. There we go. He brought up what I thought was a really interesting idea, and it won't be something we make decisions about tonight, but just something to keep in the back of our heads. Eric said that he can make a video for us if we wanted that. Conservation Commission, common knowledge video, it could be rules, could be things you need to know. Maybe we could do a visual narration of the brochure or something that could be published on the public access channel right in there for people to use as a resource. So I thought it was a good idea. You guys think about that and see if you come up with anything that you think might benefit being more broadly available. I know it seems like most people have certain media access points that they frequent, and it's not to say that, oh yeah, we have all that, we have the brochure, we have a lot of information available on our website, But if folks aren't used to going there, then it might as well not be there. And I feel like the more we can make things available on more platforms, kind of the better visibility we'll get to some of these Wetland Protection Act requirements. So anyway, thank you, Eric, for bringing that up.
Sure, thank you.
Bob, did we want to just update everybody on the conversation with the selectmen the select board last night?
Go for it.
So Bob and I had asked for time with the select board last night to raise 3 topics. One was to provide some visibility to the grant award that we had for the parking areas. That was the one that that I submitted in late January of this year. We want to make visible that we had gotten the award. Bob did a great job of writing a press release. I didn't even think about doing a press release, so thank you, Bob. We read that to the select board last night to ensure that they were aware, and the members of the public that were dialed into the meeting last night were aware of it. And then Bob, I think you've also sent it over to Pam at the Lunenburg Ledger, and she's going to try to get that published in the next couple of weeks. I think after she gets past the school bus schedules and whatnot. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was good. You asked for permission to proceed with litigation on the Chase Road encroachment parcel and concern, and you got that approval from the select board. And then we brought up the issue of the staffing shortage in the conservation office. I think all of us are kind of feeling the pinch there. And certainly concerned about the backlog of not getting our meeting minutes published in a timely fashion. And, you know, and honestly, the concern for businesses that are getting held up, developers that aren't being able to, you know, close on their properties on time. I'm getting asked often to go out and walk on a property or do a site walk or inspection that I don't feel comfortable doing and don't have actually the bandwidth to do either. But we wanted to make certain that that was visible, and the select board, you know, heard from us that we were concerned about the adverse effect on the public and area businesses. And so we were heard there. So anyway, I thought it was good. I thought it was good dialogue, and I thought it went well. Anything you want to add, Bob?
Just that as a follow-up, I've scheduled a meeting with the Director of Human Resources, Julie Bellevue, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock to follow up on her comment that, and to get some clarification about are they gonna, they were talking about hiring somebody from an adjacent town for 10 hours a week, you know, to be conservation administrator, you know, pinch hitter. And then there was also some talk about they were going to schedule 3 interviews for next week sometime. And I had some comments that I wanted to share with them about salary strategies if we hired somebody brandy new with no experience. And to get some clarification about, you know, how they can take and keep our chair informed about the hiring and staffing process, because certainly the members of the commission are stakeholders in that process, and we're not involved at all now. So that's that.
Very good. And thank you for undertaking having those conversations on our behalf, Bob. I appreciate that.
And I have to go. So before I go, I just want to mention that Adam issued 3 emergency orders, and I countersigned them for the commission this week or last week. One was at 338 West Townsend Harbor Road. Somebody had a tree that was split in danger of falling on a structure. I think it actually might have fallen on a structure, and he issued an emergency permit there. he issued an emergency permit at 164 White Street, where the rain had washed away the dam below the spillway. And, you know, the fellow who owns it, Alan Foster, wanted to get that reinforced. You know, before more rain came, you know, and further, you know, caused further erosion there. And then he issued emergency certification to the Department of Public Works on Hemlock Road, where they wanted to put in like a gully next to the road to direct this water away from where it was now running into someone's house and cellar. And so he issued those 3 emergency permits, and I countersigned them on behalf of the commission, because I tend to be Mary's go-to person during her workday. So
Thank you for that, Bob.
and I'm gonna sign off now, and I'm sorry, but I do have to go upstairs now. So,
Well,
right.
before you go, what was the address of the 3rd emergency you signed off on?
Hemlock Road. I'm not sure. It was somewhere on Hemlock Road. Well, I think it might actually be in the Google Drive. I think I might have seen it in the Google Drive.
I'll go look and
Thank
see.
you.
Thank you, Bob.
Enforcement, emergency certification. Oh, I'm not seeing it there. I could look it up in my, one sec, let me see if I can look it up in my email. It would have been an email from Bill Bernard. And by the way, they have totally completed, it was 32 Hemlock. 32 Hemlock. DPW has completed the driveway apron on Howard Street.
Oh, yeah, it looks great.
And
I was up there
that's done.
taking pictures today.
Excellent.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Hi, Bob.
Okay, old business. There are no updates on the grant proposals. And I think the Hickory Hills well at 208 Northfield Road, I think we have to wait for the formal comments back from DPW on that. There was a site walk last Thursday. Chris attended on our behalf. But we can't really discuss that without it being a formal hearing. So I think we wait to hear from and read the DPW comments on that. Mushroom signs. This was a proposal that was sponsored by Bob. So I think he did actually ask the town council about adding a disclaimer. Seemed like town council thought that was a good idea, but then just pointed to a couple of websites. So I think it's incumbent upon maybe Bob and me to figure out which ones we think we want to add to the mushroom signage. But we'll table that for the next meeting. We've already given the update on the 950 Chase Road encroachment issue. I don't think we have updates on any of the other encroachment issues. Mike, any updates on Hollis Road residents?
Yes, I have. I've been speaking with Chris Ruth, and I met with the painter, Nick Morrison, who gave us a quote for painting 123 Hollis Road. Since we did the windows last year, Chris noted that it would be nice to paint that building, and especially the trim. And we had Nick set up the proposal in 2 sections. The first section was the trim for $4,800. and the bulk of the rest of the building for $6,400. We added those two up and it was just over the 10,000 limit. So Chris had the notion to say, what if we were to have the commission approve at least the trim part, which would include 3 coats of paint on all of the trim, and come next year, deal with the rest of the building. And I thought that was a pretty good suggestion. So I'm bringing it up to the commission to see if they wanted to approve that painting of the trim proposal for this season, while we have time to paint.
And is the trim the most important part to paint right now?
It is. If you look at the house, you'll see that the trim has really been compromised, and some of which is bare wood because of the peeling. And so this would at least get that part solid for the winter, and then we can deal with the rest of the house. Doesn't look too bad, other than the fact that it does have a couple of pieces of siding removed. You know, it's cedar siding, but it's in a lot better shape than the trim. So
Okay. That makes a
that's
lot of
why-
sense.
okay.
Any questions or comments by other members of the commission? Oh. I would move that we approve $4,800 to paint the trim in this fiscal year.
Second, Richard.
Okay, roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and I for myself. So that is an approval there.
Thank you. And the other part is the pollinator habitat open house, which was a real success. Do you want me to read what some of the people have said?
Yeah, that'd be great.
It says, please forward to Ginny. I just wanted to say how wonderful it was to spend the day together and to thank you all for your contributions to a very successful open house event. We truly had an impressive space for our visitors. In addition to Carol's amazing photos, here's a list of observed pollinators, which, they had some really impressive displays. If you didn't know anything about pollinators, you certainly learned something there. Listed all the butterflies that have been sighted there, from the silver-spotted skippers, monarchs, viceroys, watching the female lay eggs on the leaves of young poplar trees. I mean, it was just an amazing day. It was very sunny and there were a lot of people, and I was there for a portion of it, so I really had a good time as well.
Cool.
And the other thing that happened after we found out during the pollinator event that there was a hornet's nest nestled in one of the prime apple trees. So I was given the task at night to remove that hornet's nest because it was an endanger to the kids who might not see the sign. And
And tell us, Mike, can the hornet sting through your bee suit?
actually, it did. I made 2 attempts because I had to limb some of the limbs before I got there, and I got nailed in the ankle once and through my gloves, believe it
Oh
or
my
not.
goodness.
But that was all prior to the removal. The day or the evening of, it was just, having some patience, waiting till it is dark enough. And have you familiar with the plastic bag method?
No.
You just engulf the, and of course I'm on a step ladder here, so you have to get the visual, all suited up, got a plastic bag, and just put your hands up, engulf the whole nest, and tie it up with a little duct tape, and then trim off the branch and you're good to go. So
So
that's-
is the intent not to use sprays to
that is the intent. That is the intent. Anyone can spray,
yeah.
but you know, to remove and not leave any spray residue
Right.
by the apples. So it was truly a success, and you know,
You get my superhero vote for
Yeah,
that.
I'm
That's
impressed. I'm very
above and
impressed.
beyond.
Yeah. Very
and of
impressed.
course, hornets or bees always sting you where you don't want them to sting you. And
Wait, where's the place that you want them to sting you? I'm
Well, if
confused
you
about
have
that
a-
comment.
if you have a shoulder that's aching or a knee that hurts, you want them to sting you there because that would provide
Oh,
some.
okay. Therapeutic value. Yeah.
Exactly. So-
Well, congratulations on that.
Well, thanks.
Wow. Anything else on Hollis Road, Mike?
That's all I have for right now.
Okay, thank you for that. We've already handled the administrative determinations and certificates of compliance. Yeah, it looks like we managed to get through 4 out of 6. So we only have 2 certificates of compliance that have been deferred. So that's really working down the list. That's great news. Enforcement, the Beers lot we talked about earlier in the hearings, the Town Beach erosion. I'm not certain that we talked about that last time due to a couple of factors. So our rain has been really intense lately. When it does rain, sometimes we just get those deluges that just bring us inches of water. That combined with over by the Town Beach, there had been repaving that had not, well, it raised the level of the pavement relative to the curbing. So there was a significant erosion problem that resulted in a violation over at the Town Beach and a lot of sand going into the lake. DPW Bill jumped right on that and got somebody out there right away to get some new curbing installed. And it seems like that's been really successful. So I think that the Town Beach erosion violation, I think, is cleared up. So we really appreciate Bill jumping on that and giving it priority. I don't think I have seen any updates on 143 Island Road. Is anybody else? Okay, not seeing anything. We already covered the emergency certifications. Open space and land use, I do not have any updates there. Any other comments by members of the commission?
Yeah, I have a question regarding
Chris.
the Chase. I think you said 94 Chase. Is there documentation on that if I want to get caught up? I don't see anything in the share drive.
Yeah, it's 950 Chase Road.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's in the share. There is a lot of documentation on that. And I will I'll make certain you get access to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Chris.
Mhm.
Okay, I think I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. I have a second.
Yes, second.
Chris. Okay, roll call vote. Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
and I for myself. And we are adjourning this meeting tonight at 9:49 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Have a good night.
Have a good evening.
Good night, guys.
Take care, everybody.